My story started when I was 15. I had just completed junior high and was feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety about starting high school. The entire summer stretched out before me, and I was determined to make the most of it. Looking back, I can't quite figure out how I ended up in so much trouble. I wasn't a bad kid, no fights, good grades, liked people, and I never hurt anyone. I think it was the hormones, or maybe the lack of them. You see, I was a late bloomer. While all my friends were either going through puberty or already done, I was still waiting. Some of my closest friends were already shaving multiple times a week. I didn't even have a single hair on my body. Well, I did have some soft fuzz on my legs, but you'd have to look really closely to notice. My voice was still high, my skin smooth, and there wasn't a hair anywhere else. I had even asked my mom to let me get one of those army-style haircuts, hoping it would make me look older. But she refused, saying my hair was too nice to ruin. It stayed long, just below my collar. It was tough. My friends started calling me babyface, and I felt humiliated. I even started avoiding showers at school because of it. When I told my mom, she told me to be patient, that the changes would come soon enough. But that didn't help. I was losing my sense of self. When I suggested we steal my mom's car for a joyride, I think I was just trying to prove something, trying to make up for my lack of maturity and hormones. I wanted to appear tougher to my post-puberty friends. Well, to keep it short, we got caught. Our parents were called, and we were released into their custody. 3 days later, we were in juvenile court. The judge gave everyone 6 months probation except for me. One of my friends said I was the one who started it all, so I ended up with 3 years probation. The judge warned that if I got into more trouble, I'd be sent to reform school. My mom was devastated and promised the judge that I wouldn't get into trouble again. As punishment, I was grounded for the rest of the summer. Then came my second big mistake just a few days later when I snuck out to go to the movies with some friends. When I came home, my mom was furious. She told me that I wasn't allowed to leave the house again without her. That night, she wouldn't even let me sleep in my own room. I was ordered to sleep in her room, and I did so without protest, feeling awful for making her so upset. The next morning, when I went to get dressed, I opened my closet and was shocked. It was empty. I rushed to check my drawers, but they were also bare. I ran upstairs to ask my mom where my clothes were, and she told me she had laid out something for me on my bed. I was stunned when I saw what it was, a red and blue plaid skirt and a silky blue blouse with lace around the collar. I marched downstairs in just my underwear, furious, and we had the worst argument of my life. She explained that she was determined to keep me at home for the summer, and if that meant dressing me in girls' clothes, then so be it. My angry words turned to begging. "Please tell me where my clothes are," I begged, but she was resolute. She told me that I wasn't allowed to come downstairs in my underwear anymore, and if I wanted to join the family for meals, I had to wear the clothes she chose for me. I stayed in my room, missing breakfast and lunch. By 7 p.m., I was starving, and my mom still refused to discuss it until I was dressed. What else could I do? I reluctantly put on the skirt and blouse, stared at myself in the mirror, and thought I looked ridiculous. Surely, when she saw me like this, she would realize how absurd it was and return my normal clothes. Even my shoes were feminine, patent leather with a little buckle across the instep. Taking a deep breath, I walked into the kitchen. She didn't laugh or tell me where my regular clothes were. Instead, she simply said, "You look very nice." She kissed me on the forehead and began serving dinner. I was starving, and she had prepared all my favorite dishes. As I ate, I began to forget what I was wearing and enjoyed the meal. Afterward, she had more surprises in store. She explained that most girls my age were beginning to develop, and that my blouse looked out of place with my flat chest. She then pulled out a padded bra with a price tag still attached and insisted I put it on. I thought that if I went along with her, maybe she'd soon realize how impractical her plan was. Once the bra was on, she presented me with a slip and panties, both laced with intricate details. She tossed my old underwear in the trash, and I couldn't help but wonder if that's where all my clothes had gone. After I was dressed, she stood back and assessed me for several moments. "Not bad," she said. "Not perfect, but not bad for a start. I think you have potential. Go take a look in the mirror." I did, and the sight shocked me. I looked like a young girl with a rough haircut. I felt a mix of emotions, embarrassment, some excitement, shame, guilt, but also a strange sense of intrigue about the image I saw. A sense of loss crept in as well. Where had the boy gone? What was going to happen to my summer plans? What if I ended up liking this new version of myself? What would happen if my friends saw me like this? The shock of that first night was nothing compared to what I faced the next day. She took me shopping, yes, in the plaid skirt and blue blouse. It turned out that those were the only items in my new wardrobe, and she wanted to make sure my other new clothes fit well. I put up a fight, but as before, I lost. At least she was considerate enough to drive me to a nearby town, where the chances of running into someone I knew were slim. I couldn't believe she wasn't embarrassed to be out in public with me dressed like a girl, but she seemed to be enjoying herself. The sales ladies in the stores even commented on how cute I looked, saying things like, "Wouldn't it be nice if more boys wanted to look pretty?" It would have been easier if they didn't realize I was a boy, but I didn't fool anyone up close. I kept my mouth shut and endured the humiliation, hoping that my compliance would make my mother realize her plan was a bit much and let me wear my regular clothes, so I could at least enjoy part of my summer as a boy. Mother didn't seem to care about the cost. While we weren't rich, we were comfortably well off. Since my father's passing 3 years ago, she had worked, but it seemed more for something to do than out of necessity. I knew my father had left her with some solid insurance policies, and she was receiving his pension. The amount she spent on trying to feminize me didn't seem to bother her. We tried on at least 20 or 30 dresses, and she bought most of them. There were boxes of feminine underwear, slips, bras, panties, hosiery, and several figure control garments. Every time we found a dress she liked on me, we had to find shoes that would go with it. One purchase made me especially uneasy. I tried on a short, pleated red skirt with a black knit top and matching red blazer. When she saw it, she said, "That would look great for church." I was about to protest, but before I could say anything, she was already picking out a pair of black heels to go with the outfit. Just when I thought we were finally headed home, we stopped at a jewelry counter. We picked out several rings, bracelets, and necklaces. The salesgirl asked if I wanted earrings, and they walked to the other side of the counter. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I saw them looking at something on a tray. When they returned, the salesgirl asked me to sit behind the counter so she could hold some earrings up to my ear for my mother to see. I should have been suspicious, but I was eager to leave, so I followed her instructions. She said the lighting would be better, so she wanted my mother to see the earrings more clearly. After she held them up, I heard my mother say, "I like those," and then I felt a sharp pain in my right ear. I immediately realized what had happened. My ear had been pierced. I was furious. No way was I going to let her pierce my other ear. I felt violated. My mother started to cry, and I lashed out at the salesgirl with some harsh words. The sight of my mother crying made me feel awful, and people were starting to stare at us. I felt trapped and humiliated, and I just wanted to leave, but through her tears, my mother insisted we weren't leaving with just one earring. I sat still, trying to hold back tears, as the salesgirl pierced my left ear. When she turned me to face the mirror, I saw little diamond studs in both my ears. At that moment, I felt completely defeated. My masculinity was gone. The fight inside me had vanished, and I knew my mother was going to get her way with me. I was so subdued that I offered no resistance when she later stopped the car in front of a beauty salon. I didn't even complain when the beautician asked me to remove my blouse and put on a smock. I sat in a daze while they washed, trimmed, and set my hair in rollers. As the stylist was finishing my hair, she told my mother, "Her hair is a little short, but this cut will help it grow out nicely. The perm will make her look less boyish while it grows." That was the first time I'd been referred to as a her, and little did I know how important that would be by the time summer ended. But it didn't stop with my hair. I was given a facial, my eyebrows were plucked into a thin arch, my lashes curled, my nails manicured and painted bright red, and makeup was applied to my face. Finally, the beautician turned me toward the mirror. I couldn't believe what I saw. If losing my masculinity in the jewelry store was one thing, it was here, in the beauty salon, that I truly embraced the new, feminine me. I was beautiful. The boy I once was gone, and in that moment, I didn't miss him at all. We even stopped for lunch on the way home, and I thoroughly enjoyed my first meal as a girl. No one saw me as a boy anymore, and I relished the feeling. My mother and I even began to reconnect, and though I had a hard time putting my feelings into words, I think she realized I was starting to enjoy life as a girl. She was thrilled and talked endlessly about her plans for the summer and how she had always dreamed of having a daughter. It had been a long, eventful day, one in which I lost my masculinity in a jewelry store, embraced my femininity in a beauty salon, and discovered my mother as my best friend in a restaurant. Well, my summer as a girl had officially begun. There was so much for me to learn, and my mother worked with me every day. I learned how to apply makeup without overdoing it, how to match clothes, and how to walk and sit gracefully. She constantly worked on my posture, helping me eliminate masculine gestures. I helped around the house, and at night, I slept in beautiful gowns, while during the day, I wore dresses, skirts, and blouses. I was really starting to embrace this new version of myself, and I began to dread the end of summer and the thought of returning to school as a boy. Occasionally, one of my old friends would call, and my mother would tell them that I had been sent to Florida to stay with her sister for the summer due to the trouble I had caused. After a while, they stopped calling. Then, about 3 weeks after the shopping trip, the doorbell rang. The sound of it startled me, something about it made my heart race. I hadn't even considered the possibility of someone recognizing me as a boy. I rushed to my room, afraid that someone had seen me through the window. My mother answered the door, and from the voices, I could tell it was Uncle Bob, my mother's brother. He was a doctor, and we had been close since my father's death. I knew that if he saw me dressed as a girl, I would be mortified. For the first time, I regretted allowing my mother to do this to me. I hid in my closet and prayed he wouldn't come upstairs. Surely, my mother would protect my secret. I could hear their voices, but I couldn't make out their words. It sounded like they were arguing, and I grew curious about what was happening. On shaky legs, I crept to the top of the stairs and hid, where I could quickly return to my room if anyone came upstairs. "You're asking me to do something wrong, and I can't do it," Uncle Bob's voice said. "Bob, it's going to happen whether you help or not," I heard my mother reply. "I can't let him end up like his father." They must be talking about the car incident. I didn't know the full details of my father's death, only that he had been shot during a bar fight. Was that why my mother had me dressed like this? Was she afraid that would happen to me? "But Janet, there are other ways to protect him," Uncle Bob countered. "Oh, I'm sure there are, but this will make us both happy," my mother said. I can't believe it. Lauren is all boy. He would never enjoy living as a girl. Oh God! She's told him. He knows. I felt a wave of nausea, and I thought I might faint. "You're wrong, Bob. He's adapted to being a girl faster than he ever learned to play baseball. He loves it, and if you won't help him feel more comfortable, I know other ways. But what you're suggesting might not be reversible if he changes his mind." "He won't change his mind," she insisted. "Has he started puberty yet?" "No, and we need to do something before he does. Actually, if you two are serious, we should wait a year. Let him live as a girl for that time and see if it's really what he wants," Bob suggested. "That's the whole point. We don't have a year. Puberty could start any day," my mother argued. "Surely the medication would work faster if started before puberty. But if we begin now, he may never produce male hormones, and his male organs might become useless." "Will you do it?" my mother asked. I didn't say that. I'd need to see him. I can't just write a prescription without a complete physical. My mother called me. My heart skipped a beat. She had been calling me Lily for weeks, but hearing it in front of Uncle Bob made everything feel real. I didn't move. She came upstairs and sat beside me on the floor. She took my hand and said, "Lily, darling, I know you're scared, but this is important. I'm trying to help you find happiness. Now, tell me honestly, do you enjoy being a girl?" All I could say was, "Yes." "Soon, your body will change. Hair will grow on your face, your skin will get rough, and your body shape will shift. Your voice will deepen and become less feminine. Your uncle has medicine that can stop that, but he has to believe you really want it before he'll give it to you. I loved you as my son, but I love you now as my daughter. If you truly want this, you need to tell him that you prefer being a girl. It's your decision." She stood up and walked back downstairs. "Well, where is she?" I heard Uncle Bob ask. "She's embarrassed, Bob. She'll be down in a moment." It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, facing Uncle Bob like this. I never thought I'd be able to do it. I sat there, feeling like everything was about to change. He already knew the truth about me, and things would never be the same. I mustered all the courage I could and walked down the stairs, bracing myself for whatever he might say or do. He didn't laugh or make fun of me. Instead, he took my hands in his and looked me straight in the eyes. "Are you happier as a girl, or would you rather go back to being a boy?" I couldn't speak. There was so much I wanted to explain, but the words just wouldn't come. All I could manage was one word, girl. And then the tears came, and I couldn't stop them. The next morning, we were at Uncle Bob's office by 8 a.m. I wore cut-off jeans and a simple scoop neck top. My makeup was light, and though my hair was still short, I had styled it to look as feminine as possible. My mother stayed with me the whole time, and I was embarrassed when the nurse asked me to remove all my clothes. Since my mom was with me, she stepped out of the room, and I was glad she didn't see me undressed. Uncle Bob gave me a thorough physical. At the end, he asked my mother if he could speak to me privately. He wanted to be sure I was certain about this decision. I told him I was sure. He explained that I would start noticing changes in my body soon, and if I ever regretted my choice, I should contact him right away. "What kind of changes should I expect?" I asked. "To start with, the changes will be subtle, and you probably won't notice much at first," he explained. "Given your age and the lack of significant male hormones, I expect these changes to begin happening quickly after a few weeks. It will be like a young girl entering puberty, but with the medication I'm giving you, the process will be accelerated. The first thing you'll likely notice is some soreness and swelling in your chest. After that, don't be surprised if you wake up one morning to find that you've developed chests, and they will continue to grow. Other changes will be slower, particularly around your hips and thighs. Your voice should stay much the same, and you might occasionally have to shave your legs, but you'll never develop facial hair. I envy you for that." "And if I change my mind about all of this?" I asked. "We'll do what we can to reverse it, but by then, your testicles will likely have permanently stopped functioning. You probably won't even be able to find them. This is a serious step, and I want to make sure you're certain." I should have thought about it more, but I didn't. "Let's do it," I said. He called my mother back in and instructed me to lie on my stomach. I felt the cool sensation of alcohol as he prepared my hip. Without saying anything else, he inserted the needle, and I could feel the cool liquid entering my body. I was filled with a mix of excitement, fear, and doubt all at once. The decision had been made, and now I would have to face this new path, whether it was for a short time or forever. As I stood up from the exam table, Uncle Bob said, "Your body now believes it's female. Soon, there will be almost no trace of the boy you were." While I was getting dressed, he handed some medication bottles to my mother and explained how they should be taken. "If she has any issues, call me right away," he said. She'll need another hormone shot in a month. If all goes well, I'll likely give her an implant that will last 6 months or more. That was the first time I heard Uncle Bob refer to me as she, and the sound of it gave me chills. I liked it. As we left, Uncle Bob put his arm around my shoulder. Lily, I think it's time I start calling you that. If you ever need someone to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out. Just because you're a girl now doesn't mean we can't still go fishing. Though I guess I'll have to bait your hook for you now. I kissed him on the cheek and said, "Thank you, Uncle Bob, for being so understanding. I love you." As we walked out, I turned back and added, "I'd love to go fishing with you, and I think I can still bait my own hook." For the next few weeks, we stayed close to home. My mother continued to guide me through my transformation, and I was learning quickly. So much of it seemed to come naturally. My hair was growing out beautifully, and I loved trying different styles. I could apply my makeup in a fraction of the time it used to take. I had learned to cook, and my mother was teaching me how to sew. We often drove to a nearby town to shop, eat out, or see a movie. No one questioned my femininity, and I was becoming very comfortable in my new role. We didn't have many neighbors, but occasionally one of my mother's friends would visit. She explained that Lauren was in Florida with her sister, and Lily was staying with her for the summer. The closest I came to being recognized was when one of her friends said that Lauren and Lily looked so much alike, they could be siblings. I began to notice subtle changes in my body, but nothing significant until around the 3rd week of July. My pointers had been growing for some time and were very sensitive, but I hadn't noticed any real chest development. One morning, as I was putting on my padded bra, it felt uncomfortable, like it didn't fit properly. I took it off and looked in the mirror, and to my surprise, there they were, real chests, and they looked big. Well, not big like Dolly Parton, but to someone who had never had chests before, they seemed big. We went shopping for new bras that morning, and within a week, we had to buy larger ones. My mother bought me several bikini swimsuits, and I spent some time in the backyard working on my tan. Before we knew it, it was only 2 weeks until school started. I had always assumed I would have to start dressing as a boy again when school began and limit my feminine clothes to after school and weekends. After all, I was still legally a boy. But by then, my body had changed so much that neither my mother nor I thought I could pass as a boy anymore. And frankly, I didn't want to try. So, we moved. We put our house on the market and it sold that week. We found another beautiful home in a town that was 75 miles away, and mother enrolled me in the high school there as her daughter, Lily Watson. Since there was still a week before school opened, we hired a moving company to move everything in. Mother and I went on a vacation to the beach. By this time my hair was to my shoulders, thick and luscious. My body had developed curves that I had only dreamed of before. And a whole new education became necessary. Boys. I attracted a lot of attention on the beach, and at first I tried to be indifferent and ignore this new unsolicited attention. Mother and I had some long talks, and the new phase of my education began. I accepted my first date the last night we were there, and man, was I nervous. It went well. My date turned out to be a real gentleman, and I really enjoyed the attention and all that goes with being treated like a lady. I wouldn't want to admit this to my old buddies I used to play baseball with, but I also got my first kiss, and I found it to be delightful. Don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.